Alright then, so now we're at the point where we can send a request to the API to sign up a new user, we hash their password, and we create a document for that user in the database which contains that hash along with the email that they sign up with, right? Now the next step is to implement some kind of method of saying to the front end that, yeah, we've signed this user up and they're authenticated now. And we need a way for the front end to keep track of that, so it always knows whether the user is currently authenticated. So if they've just signed up or they've logged in, because in both of these cases, the user would be authenticated or logged in to the application, if you like. And the way we're going to communicate this between the backend API and the front-end React app is by using JSON Web Tokens. So using JSON Web Tokens is just one way to manage authentication between a front end and a back end of a web app. And it involves making a special token called a JSON Web Token on the server when a user sends a successful login or sign up request to the server. So the server handles that request, and if it's happy with the credentials, then it will create a JSON Web Token for that user, and it would then send that token back to the client, in our case the browser, which we can then access in the front-end application, right? And the presence of this web token in the browser would signify to the front-end application that we're currently logged in or authenticated. So we could use the presence or absence of that token to do things like protect certain pages or conditionally show different templates in the React application. For example, if we have a token in the browser, meaning the user's authenticated, we could show that user the homepage or dashboard components. But if we didn't have that token available in the browser, meaning they're logged out or unauthenticated, then we wouldn't let them see the homepage component, and instead we'd redirect them to a login page. So this is how we'd use that token on the front end, but more importantly, we'd also use that token to protect resources on the back end, the server. For example, we might want to restrict access to the workouts endpoints on the API so that only authenticated users can access data from them. And the way we do that is by using this JSON Web Token and passing it from the client, the browser, to the API as part of the request headers. So on the API, if when a request comes in, the server detects that JSON Web Token and evaluates it to be valid, then we'd allow access to whatever resource the user needs. But if when the request comes in and the API doesn't detect the web token or determines it to be invalid, then we'd send an error back to the client. And that error would say something like, you need to be authenticated to access this resource. So that's the basics of how we'd use a JSON Web Token and pass it between the client and the server to handle authentication. But what does this JSON Web Token actually look like, and how does it work under the hood? So I'm on the JSON Web Token site, which gives us a little interactive area to mess around with tokens, and it actually shows us what these JSON Web Tokens look like in encoded and decoded forms. So on the left we can see the encoded version, which is the thing that actually gets sent between the server and the client, and on the right we can see the decoded version, which is what the server can see once it decodes the token. So the token itself is split up into three parts, and in the encoded version we can see those three parts as these three different coloured, seemingly random strings. And when the token is decoded, the three parts look something like this. A header, which contains metadata about the token, such as the algorithm used, a payload, which contains any data about the user, like an ID or an email address, so that on a server, when the token is decoded, it can see which user is authenticated or logged in. But importantly, this payload should not contain any sensitive data like a password, because it can be easily decoded by hackers if the connection isn't secure and they get a hold of the token. And the final part, which I'm going to talk about a bit more in a few minutes, is the token signature. This is what the server ultimately uses to verify that the token is valid and that it hasn't been tampered with. Now also, quickly notice that when I change something over on the right, like the payload, the encoded version changes as well. And not just the purple bit, which corresponds to the payload, but the signature as well. So changing anything in the decoded version will ultimately change the encoded token, including the signature. And that's important because it means that the server is going to be able to check using the signature if the token has been changed in any way, shape or form. So now what I'd like to do is just spend a few minutes explaining how the server verifies these tokens and exactly how this signature works right here. Alright, so we know that a token is made up of those three parts: a header, which contains the algorithm used, a payload, which contains non-sensitive user data that the server can use to identify the authenticated user, and a signature, which the server can use to verify the authenticity of the token and to make sure it's not been tampered with. And that last step is really important because imagine I log in as person A and receive a token. Then when I get the token, I decode it and I change the user email or ID inside the payload to someone else's email or ID belonging to person B. Then I could encode it again and send it back to the server with some kind of request to try and trick the server into thinking I'm logged in as person B so that I can access that other user's data. So that's what the signature is there for, to verify on the server that the token hasn't been changed. The way it does this is a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try and explain it in a kind of simple way that makes sense. So first of all, when a user sends a successful login or sign-up request to authenticate themselves, the server generates a token. It does this by first of all making the payload and the headers part using the user's details like their unique ID. Then it hashes both of these things together with a secret string known only to the server. And the result is a signature, which is a random string of characters. Now, this unique signature for this user can only ever be made by the server because only the server knows the secret string used to make the signature. So for this reason, the secret string must remain a secret, known only to the server, because it's the key to unlocking and verifying the JSON Web Token. So never publish the secret to anything like GitHub or use it within your public code. So these three things hashed together make up the signature. And that signature is then added onto the JSON Web Token as the third part. This process is called signing the token, and the other two parts are just the encoded versions of the header and the payload individually. So once the server's created this token, it can send it to the browser. And then from the browser, if we ever need to make a request for any resource that's protected, for example, we'd send this token along with it. The server can then use the secret and hash it with the first two parts of the token, the header and the payload, to verify the signature. If the result of that matches the signature on the token, we know that the token hasn't been tampered with. But if they don't match, then we know it's not valid and we can refuse access to the user. So then, now you know a little bit about how JSON Web Tokens work under the hood, we need to use them to implement this authentication flow on our API and the front end, so that whenever a user either sends a valid sign-up or login request, we create a token for that user and send it back to the browser. And then for any future requests the browser makes on behalf of that user, it can send that token along with it. That way, we can verify the token on the server and provide access to protected resources like the workouts data to authenticated users. So in the next lesson, we're going to use the JSON Web Token package to generate these tokens and send them back to the client.